Good afternoon, everyone. First off, foremost, I hope everybody's made it through that winter storm, and you guys are staying warm and not freezing to death. I know it's still negative 25. I mean, it's been literally so cold. My whole engine compartment on my Suburban is frozen. There ain't no starting it until it warms up. Even even the antifreeze is frozen. I mean, you get that when you get wind chills over negative 38, negative 40. I mean, I managed to clean out the snow that blew into it. But needless to say, I'm not going anywhere. Which means I get to spend Christmas with you guys. I know, joy, right? And I tell you, it's not warm. Not even in here. Yeah, I got a notification from our power company. They sent out a notification to everybody, basically telling people to reduce the power usage in fear of having the grid go down and power outages because so many people. I mean, I've got my heater furnace on, 3 space heaters going, and I can barely get the trailer up to 60. I mean, I've only got one running faucet right now, and I had all my faucets and shower dripping. Only one managed to survive, just happened to be the bathroom sink. So yeah, it's gotten cold. I mean, it's still cold. So definitely feel for people out there right now. Hope you guys are doing your best to stay warm. I mean, if you guys noticed lights and stuff flickering, it's been doing that for a while now. We did lose power for a little while during the night. But other than that, though, hey, another day in paradise, right? But I definitely want to wish you guys all a Merry Christmas, or I hope you guys are having a wonderful Christmas Eve. You know, many of us out there probably trying to travel. Be safe out there. You know, I know some people probably looking at the titles like, okay, what's this going to be about? Well, it's a lot of things. You know, tis the season to be merry and full of good tidings. I am merry and I'm full of good tidings. I'm just pissed off. I'm pissed off what I've watched transpire this week. I'm just sick and tired of the direction our government keeps driving us. How they'll proudly bring in somebody that's no more than a dictator, the president of Ukraine. I mean, all dressed up in his green, sending people reminders of Fidel Castro and his regime. You know, Nancy Pelosi and all of them holding up the Ukrainian flag. You know, a lot of people were outraged about it, but why are you outraged about that? The Ukrainian flag's been hanging in Congress for over 6 months now. Then we had that omnibus bill. Oh my God. 1.7 trillion. Of course, 40 million of it's going to Ukraine. On top of all the, I mean, the Ukrainian president was given the best Christmas present ever, because we've sent millions. We're probably almost in the billions of dollars to Ukraine in aid, money, and weapons. To a country that we're not even allied with, a country that's not even a NATO ally, part of NATO. We have American people, homeless people, that probably lost their lives over this winter storm in the Northeast here. especially with the temperatures getting down as far as they got. I mean, at one point when I checked, it was negative 45. I mean, it's negative 25 right now. And like I said, my whole engine compartment of my Suburban is frozen. I'm talking about fluids, oil, everything. I didn't even bother pulling the battery out to put it on a charger because it's pointless, because until we get some sun, until it warms up, those fluids aren't going to heat up and melt. I'm literally going to have to, when it warms up, go out there with a blow dryer and blow dry my lines, because temperatures aren't supposed to really get into the 30s most of the next week. You know, many people are dealing with power outages. Where's all that money? That money right there, that 40 million, 45 million, whatever, could have went to re-infrastructuring our electric grids. That's in desperate need of attention. Has been. They can't take the toll. You know? Like where I live, you know, the power company sees I'm using too much power to keep my house warm. They can turn it off because I'm on a smart meter. You know, I'm renting, so I don't have a choice what type of meter they use. They can turn our power off because we're consuming too much. Trying to stay warm. You know, the smart people out there, the ones have converted back to using wood burners and oil burners. With that omnibus bill, oh my God, that thing, the stuff, some of the stuff that I've managed to read, and I don't got, I mean, I got a week off. I got plenty of time probably to read 4,000 pages, but I don't want to, because every time you read something, it makes you mad, the stuff that's in it. The waste of money, spending. Oh, but we can keep Congress open until September of next year. Yeah, well, you didn't need that much money to keep Congress running that long. You know, the Pentagon didn't need more money because they haven't answered for where the missing, what, 1.3 trillion is that they've lost. Again, it's not the first time. Where's all this money going? Well, obviously, some of it's going right back into their pockets, because on their fixed salary, none of them should be millionaires. While people out here are suffering, barely trying to put food on the table, have a Christmas dinner, get presents for the kids, these rich elite bastards are going on vacation, going to Puerto Rico, Bahamas. Yes, even Taylor Greene, Puerto Rico, while she finalized her divorce. You know, the Senate passed it by a sweeping majority because only 28 people voted against it. I mean, it pretty much unanimously went through the House, which everybody knew it was. It's right now Democratic control, but it don't matter. We had Republicans vote for it. It don't matter the party. They're all in there for their own greed. It ain't about we the people. We've forgotten our history. As we're celebrating Christmas, we're also celebrating history. Because at 11 p.m. on Christmas night, George Washington crossed the Delaware River with 5,400 troops, hoping to surprise the Hessians for celebrating Christmas at their winter quarters in Trenton, New Jersey. The unconventional attack came after several months of substantial defeats from the Washington Army that had resulted in the loss of New York City and other strategic points in the region. At about 11 p.m. on Christmas, Washington Army commenced its crossing of the half-frozen river at 3 locations. The 2,400 soldiers, led by Washington, successfully braved the icy, freezing river and reached the Jersey side of the Delaware just before dawn The other two divisions, made up of 3,000 men and crucial artillery, failed to reach the meeting point at the appointed time. At approximately 8 a.m. on the morning of December 26, Washington's remaining forces, separated in two columns, reached the outskirts of Trenton and descended on the unsuspecting Hessians. Trenton's 1,400 Hessian defenders were groggy from the previous evening's festivities and underestimated the Patriot threat after months of decisive British victories. Throughout New York, Washington's men quickly overwhelmed the German defenses. By 9:30 a.m., the town was surrounded. Although several hundred Hessians escaped, nearly 1,000 were captured at the cost of only 4 American lives. However, because Washington's army had failed to cross the Delaware, he was without adequate artillery and men and was forced to withdraw from town. Now, we're riddled with history. Like I said, on December 25th, in the late hours of the night, George Washington crossed the Delaware, which was half frozen. Fighting for our revolution, fighting for our freedoms. Yes, we celebrate Christmas, but we celebrate so much more. We celebrate being a nation that is the beacon of hope for the world. We celebrate the fact that we have our freedom. We are able to travel, be with family, friends, loved ones, be able to access social media to talk to our friends and families that are overseas. We have so many blessings and freedoms that we sometimes forget. We forget the attack that's been ongoing on the social media platforms. We forget. Most people don't even know that the FBI has paid millions of dollars to censor people, to control the narrative, control what's being said on social media. Here in Indiana, during the storm, most people, it wasn't bad. It wasn't what they were going to say, but it was bad when the winds, the bitter cold is far more dangerous than the snow snowing you in. Hypothermia and frostbite will kill within not even an hour. Some people, they say about 15, 20 minutes, you can die of hypothermia. The National Guard was out. The state deployed the National Guard to help and rescue anybody that was stranded in the roads during the storm. But then we find out that the National Guard informs troops last paycheck before Christmas will be late as Biden and admin sends billions to Ukraine. That's the title of the story from Post Millennial. There's a couple of these going around. On Friday, it was revealed that Biden's administration failed to pay numerous National Guard troops their final year-end pay on time during the week of Christmas. The failure came after approving a controversial additional $45 billion aid package to Ukraine and the House passing a $1.7 trillion spending plan. Hello, gents, began a letter sent to members of the National Guard obtained by the Post Millennial. If you have been tracking the pay issues that has been plaguing the unit and the division as well, reports came in from Pennsylvania, Georgia, South Carolina, from troops angered and upset that their pay hadn't yet come through. Good afternoon, CSSM. You have probably already read some of that. Many soldiers were due pay today. They received LES but did not receive their funds. Here's what we know. The issue is nationwide. The issue seems to be at DFAS and is related to the CR NGB was not made aware of the issue or decision prior to today. The NBA NGB is currently working the issue with DFSS. This is unfortunate and caused serious issues and aggravations across the formation, which are understandable, especially 2 days before Christmas. I think the messaging is important, that it's understood the issues are at the highest levels and that everyone in the division and state are pushing for immediate resolution. I mean, it's sad when our reservist National Guards can't get their paycheck sometimes, especially before Christmas. I mean, I know there's a lot of, in the National Guard, they don't get, National Guard reserves, they don't get the credit that's really due to them. Because, most of them are retired or younger kids that join it before enlisting into the military or thinking about it. They do a lot for our country within our borders. From natural disasters to, well, just like I said, being assigned to go out in frigid temperatures and rescue anybody that's stranded and help them. They play a pivotal role. They're used a lot. They're used in some areas where they probably shouldn't be when it comes to wartime too. But it's disheartening to know that because of our government's greed and corruption, that we've had military people not get their Christmas, end of the year Christmas checks. I mean, it makes no sense. Then you add on the fact that our national debt is insane. We just added another 1.7 trillion to that debt. The spending and giving of money has gotten out of control. The inability for our congressmen and women to be our representatives, which is what they're supposed to, which is why George Washington crossed the Delaware, why many of the founding fathers fought brutally, whether it be through espionage and using the printing presses for propaganda, or fighting in the trenches to win our sovereignty, our freedom, our independence. Now we celebrate Independence Day on July 4th. The Declaration of Independence signed 1776. Most people think that was the war. The war started well before 1776. It just came to its crescendo in 1776. The scary thought is we live in a time and age that people are going to turn a blind eye to what's going on, or the corruption is going to get so bad that we'll no longer have our freedom of speech. We'll no longer be able to speak and talk freely, have top conversations like this. It is getting to that point. They keep pushing it. They keep trying to suppress people's thoughts, their ability to talk and share information, question things. When we lose that ability, the idea of being able to go places like they tried during COVID, so many people were, well, you can't travel with your families. It's not safe. We're shutting down your places of worship. You can't go and have Christmas mass or or fellow or worship on Sunday or Christmas worship. You can't go to your churches, your temples, your synagogues, whatever you call your place of worship. The doors were shut. That's not what our founding fathers fought for. And I think in other huge breaking news today that just happened, Ricky Lake lost her court case. I know probably most people didn't follow that because they didn't care because, it wasn't for their state. But we should. Because there was some crazy stuff said in that courtroom under testimony. That, there was, that election should have been questioned. It should have been changed, but no. Even our court systems have gotten to where they do not adhere to the law of the land. They do not uphold the laws. They allow the corruption to go by. Some of you might say, no. I'll give you the best case of the year. And it's not even the Ricky Lake thing. It was the sealing of the Black Book. The list of names of all the people that went to Epstein's Island, that paid, and who knows what. The judge ordered it sealed, never to be able to be opened, used, or looked at. There's a judge who has failed his obligations as a judge, failed his oaths, and basically succumb to bullying, threats, intimidation of a judge by who knows. Because in that list, in that book, is the wealthiest of the wealth, the richest of the rich, congressmen, women, judges, princes, the true filth of this world, who should have been tried, prosecuted, and held accountable. And no, I do not believe the judge was fought off. I believe he was deeply intimidated, or there's always a speculation that his name was in the book too. Our legal systems has failed us time and time again. The Supreme Court's failed us. No, I'm not talking about Roe versus Wade either. I'm talking about when they made the decision to allow corporations to spend as much money as they want on elections. Why? Because the argument was made, and it was a fair argument, but it was the wrong argument. But as a corporation, we are not a U.S. citizen, singular. We are made up of citizens, plural, so therefore the law doesn't apply to us. And that's how they ruled it. Because the corporation was made up of multiple citizens. Therefore, a corporation is not considered a citizen. But yet we, the people, can only spend, I think max $5,000 on a campaign donation. contribute, where corporations can spend millions and millions of dollars influencing, buying elections. Many of these corporations, huge corporations within the United States, are foreign-owned, foreign-ran, controlled by foreign shareholders. No, that should have been the argument right there. But no, they didn't argue that fact. No corporation, and we've seen, and the corporations are to blame for a lot of the censorship too. As much as we blame YouTube, YouTube makes its revenue and money not off us. They make a small fraction off us, but it is on the corporations that sell their advertising, allow their advertising to be marketed on there. But that also goes to greed. So they're just as guilty because they're allowing their greed to strip people of their freedoms. They're caving into governments and foreign leaders. I mean, we all have we probably question morality these days, but we all have morals. We all know what's right and wrong. Even a psychopath knows what's right and wrong. It's actually what makes them a psychopath. We don't need somebody to do fact checking for us. We don't need somebody to police over us. We know if we see something that should not be on there, and there's plenty of it, all the child pornography that was going on Twitter, the sex trafficking that was going on Twitter. The FBI was more concerned with censoring people, going after American citizens who had an opposing opinion and views as the current administration, and they needed to silence them, than actually going after the real criminals, the real sick pedophiles. So yes, it is the season. 'Tis the season to be joyous and tidy. But I say nay. It's time to release the dogs of war. It's time that as we prepare for the upcoming year, we stop taking this bullshit. We stop taking this abuse. We stop allowing them to subjugate us and enslave us. We stop letting them strip our Constitution and dictating what the Constitution is when it's black and white. We can't keep living like this. We can't allow our government to keep doing these things. And it does. It did. It started with the primaries, and we failed there because we just put the same people back in. The same mindset of people back in. That's where we got to stop. We got to stop putting these people back in with the same mindset. We got to start putting people back in that are want change, that want to stop everything that's transpired in the last 20, 30 years in Congress. No, our answer ain't Donald Trump for 2024. Our answer ain't whoever that is rich, multimillionaire, celebrity. Our answer is whoever's listening right now, you. But yes, they've put laws in place to keep that even from happening. Because you got to have so much money in your bank account. You got to have proof that you've had this. It was never supposed to be about the money. When our founding fathers drew up the articles, it was about the everyday person being able to have their voices heard, be a representative of their colony or state, be a speaker, be a president. It wasn't ever about the rich. George Washington was amazing in so many ways, into the fact that he did not want to be the president. Think about that. Who do we want to hold that job? A person that don't want that job. Just like Twitter. I don't trust Elon Musk as far as I could throw him, which ain't that far. He ain't a savior. He ain't a hero. Yeah, he's done some great things, but he's done some bad things. I mean, I can't remember whose podcast it was, but they were talking about cobalt, the mining of cobalt. How dangerous to the environment and to the health of people that mine it. The whole concept of the green deals is a joke because it's not environmental friendly, because it's completely opposite. It is literally raping the natural resources of the land to be able to make these things. You need gold, you need cobalt, you need so much natural resources that you have to mine. In some cases, like our diamonds, for the chips, we don't even can manufacture here. We don't even have the natural resource here. They don't want to talk about that. And we know when you start digging up land, removing trees, you're actually doing what? I mean, this is according to their own words. The hypocrisy that they spew isn't even funny. Because they sell you a pitch that's full of lies and half-truths. Is it a greener concept? Yes, it might be. But at a very high cost that we would never want to give. It goes back to, I've talked about it. The paper mills. Why is in the United States don't we have stuff made of hemp anymore? Why is the clothes made of hemp anymore? Why don't we have? Because all of our hemp fields were shut down, and there's still a bunch still sitting there. Nobody's not allowed on the property. It's private property owned by federal government. Most of our import of hemp comes from Canada because we're not allowed to grow it or produce it or use it. Because it was the paper mill, the cotton growers. They wanted to bring in the paper mills and cotton, and they didn't want to lose their monopoly on that, and so they shut down the hemp fields, or the ability for people to grow their own hemp. It had nothing to do with hemp being marijuana and being a weed and narcotic. It had everything to do. It was competing, and it was a natural resource against the paper industry, the paper mills. History at its finest. The history that doesn't get talked about or written in the school books anymore. Interesting fun fact, that was in our history books in the 1990s. Early 1990s. Actually, it was in the 1990s. Won't find that anymore. The history we were taught, my generation and next generation down, that history is no longer taught. The sciences are no longer taught. Shit, in some cases, the same math is no longer taught. Common Core, you know what I'm talking about. That's the state of things we're living in today. And no, I'm not going to ring the new year in with the same old, same old. I'm tired of the same old, same old. I'm tired of the same old politicians wanting your vote, spewing your lies just to get your vote, and turn around and allow a $1.7 trillion omnibus bill with $45 million more going to Ukraine. No. The fact that they needed to put in there legislation about January 6th and the electoral vote and counting of that was ridiculous in itself. Oh, yes, my other favorite. Banning TikTok from government devices. My personal opinion, if you're going to ban TikTok, you need to. In fact, there should be no social media apps on any government device. Period. I think we have senators and congressmen and women that spend way too much time tweeting on Twitter than doing their jobs. Because part of their job was to read a 4,000 and they got cut a little bit, so it was like 4,500 some pages starting off. Omnibus bill, which they can't do. You know, I've stated this. There's the other thing that needs to be fixed. No bill that goes before Congress, before the House or the Senate, should be more than 100 pages. No bill that goes before the House or Senate should have anything other than what is related to and about that bill. Nothing can be added to it that does not pertain to that bill. That should be common sense. But it's time that people in Congress do their job. Our so-called Republicans, that some of us claim are about the right thing, they should be bringing legislation and making amendments to make sure that no bill is ever over 100 pages. Do you hear them talking about it? I don't even hear Rand Paul talking about it. Or his father, Ron Paul. They never talked about it. In that omnibus bill, the only thing that should have been in that bill is the quintessential things to fund the government till September. Nothing else. Nothing to do with the electoral votes. Nothing to do with sending money to Ukraine, because that's not our problem. And I mean, damn, you couldn't even make sure the National Guard got their paychecks in time? But I'm quite sure Zelensky is sitting back just laughing at the American people while he cashed in his check. Because I tell you what, when it's all said and done and history looks back on this, it's going to look back just much like it did look back on Puerto Rico, when all this aid was sent to Puerto Rico and none of it went to the people. None of it went to where it went. It went to the politicians and corporations' pockets. Happens every time. It goes into the corrupt's hands. Never goes into the hands of the people that need it. But yet we still, try to get a little more cheerful here. But yet we still have people that do good deeds here. Everyday American citizens looking out for their fellow brothers and sisters. I mean, I talked about the last podcast, last Sunday I think it was. I had to order a battery charger because my battery was dead. Because I couldn't go nowhere. I couldn't get a jump. And I can't remember the dude's name. It was a black dude. I hated asking him. I was like, well, I didn't even ask him. I'm like, well, hopefully this works. I've been stuck here for like 3 days. I've been able to charge my battery. can't get a jump. He's like, well, you need a jump? I'm like, well, if you would, I'd appreciate it. He's like, yeah, just pull around up there. You got jumper cables? I'm like, yeah. He didn't have to. He really did it because, jumping, I'm not a big fan. I don't like jumping people either, but I do it. But, last time I jumped somebody, I ended up having issues, electrical issues. So, there's a right way to do it. The way I grew up, you just hook up the battery cables, let the other car run for a bit, try it, but don't try it, have them, give it a little gas for a little bit, and go ahead and hit it, and usually crank right over. But, they said just hook up the battery, you hook up the battery cables and let it charge. I've never actually seen that work. Man, it charges the battery, so I guess it could work, but I've always been told, hook it up, there's like, well, hook your negative cable to the frame or something else instead of the battery. I've never done that. I've always done how I was showed, how it always worked. But then again, technology changes, our batteries are changed. Our electronics in our vehicles are more sensitive, so you do got to be careful. And he had a fairly new Dodge, so Dodge truck. But I was thankful. I mean, that people like that doing everyday deeds like that. I remember times I broke down in North Carolina. I mean, really, before you even got out of your vehicle, somebody was stopping, offering to help. I'm from up north. I'm not used to that. I'm used to, them just driving right on by. And it's because it's a day and age. A lot of people are scared to stop. It's just how things have been, how far things have gotten. It's like tomorrow, Christmas. I know there's a lot of people I know are going to be going to the shelters, helping prepare Christmas meals for those that are in the shelters, the homeless. Those are the people I think about, this time of the year. Giving back. It is a time of giving. Unfortunately, our governments are doing all the taking. And why? And we got to ask why. And it's a simple answer. Because we have allowed it. We've allowed it to happen for so far too long. They don't see us as their representatives. They see us as their slaves. They're the masters, and we're to be the obedient slaves. And that's got to change. In the years to come, that has to change. And it's not going to change by keep repeating the same vicious cycle that we keep doing. It ain't going to change when we keep arguing about Republican and Democrat, left versus right. Because it's all wrong. Because it's not about a party. It's not about a color or a label. It's about a person's actions. When they say they're going to represent you and that they have they? Have they been a defender of the Constitution? Have they stood up for our freedoms, our rights, our liberties? Have they lived by example? 90% of the people in Congress have not. Then another 8% of them, they may have, no longer do because they've become rotten, just like the whole bushel of apples that rotted out. Then the last 2%, they have no power, no control because they are the minority. That's what our government has become. And every aspect of it, every branch, people doing as they will, as if they're above the law, as the law does not apply. But yet, we do the slightest thing wrong, we get punished to the full letter of the law. In some cases, we speak out and we're well known. We lose our PayPal accounts. We lose our Patreon accounts. We get suspended off a platform. We get demonetized. We get forced out. So sometimes it's a blessing to only have 80 subscribers or followers or whatever. It gives me that freedom because that big bullseye isn't on me. I mean, it took, I think this channel's going on, 7 years old? Basically took that long to finally catch the ire and be put on YouTube's naughty list. And I taught, listen to me. I've said things that most podcasters are too damn scared to say. And that's a problem. That's been the biggest problem. Because it should be them saying it. Because they had a wider reach. But they don't. Tim Pool, he doesn't. We'll save it for our after show over on our website. That way YouTube can't censor it. Crowder, we'll save it for Mug Plug. Although Crowder pushes the envelope more than most. He pays for it each time. But yeah, I push it farther. And I slide by. Unless I go messing with the meta tags and stuff. Which I did. I think the last podcast Bree was on. I messed with it and added some things. And sure enough, along came the bots. I was already prepared for it. I knew it was going to happen. But that's the part that makes me so mad. We have podcasters and streamers that censors what their people can say when they come on their podcast. We'll get removed if you guys say this. So, they're reliant on what little advertising they get, the monetization they get. We can't have that. We can't be the same way the people that we're fighting against. Because they're using that to control you. I mean, keep it real. I mean, Tim Pool has how many? Probably over 1 million subscribers. His reach on a lot of podcasts has been in the 50, 60,000 viewers. But yet, he's self-censoring. He's still controlling what can be said from his guest. Save it for the after show. We can talk about this on the after show. Those things you're talking about, the after show, is the very same thing all those 60,000 plus people need to hear. I'm tired of having to go buy subscription after subscription if I want to watch or listen to somebody or something. I'm definitely not going to do it for political content. I have Sling, I have Disney, I don't have HBO Max. I do have HBO Max, but it's part of my phone bill. Because that's my break from this. Watching some shows, some movies. I already know why I got Disney, really. which are probably not going to have much longer. Why? Because they've changed their price. Everything changed the price. I mean, look at Discovery. Now you got to get Discovery Plus. You want to watch some of your shows. Shit's getting old. I bought cable, or I got satellite cable for a reason, to watch these shows. I'm not going to go pay another $8-9 to have Discovery Plus. It ain't worth it. But that's the trend now. And it shouldn't be that way. You know, it's just like me and Bruce discussed those back to the podcast where all the trolls came. The bot problem hit. You know, there's all these platforms. You know, about every few months, a new one pops up. All we're doing is dividing ourselves, scattering. Yeah, Rumble offers streaming services, but it's an echo chamber. You know what Twitter is not right now? An echo chamber. And actually, Twitter's never been an echo chamber. If you just step outside your boxes and just follow different people that you might not agree with. So now you're getting almost every side of the story instead of a one-sided story or one-sided narrative. You know, life is about choices. We got to start learning to make the right choices. Some of that choices some of you don't want to make, because that means hearing both sides of the story. It means listening to other people's opinions and views. It means stepping outside of your echo chambers. It means changing the way you do your podcast. When you know you have that reach, use it. Don't let people dictate what you can and can't say, because then they're winning. You're not doing anything but steadily losing, and you don't realize it. I mean, by all rights, George Washington probably should have never even attempted to take New Jersey with 2,400 men, when 3,000 of his men didn't make it across. Or they made it across, just not where they were supposed to. Yes, he had the numbers, but no, he didn't. It was part surprise, part tactical genius on his part. But it could have all went wrong. But he didn't run from it. None of our founding fathers ran from it. So why are we? Why are we caving in, giving in to the suppression? To the controlled narratives? You know, I got a lot of respect for a lot of people, a lot of podcasters out there. But in the end, there is one part where I don't. When they restrict their speech, when they restrict the information that they're talking about for fear of losing their channel. So that tells me you're about one thing. You're about the one. When you have that reach, you should be the influence of goodwill, of good hope, being the beacon of hope, being the true patriot that some of you claim to be. But no. And there's so many ways to get those messages across, and it's just pointless. Really, it does become pointless, because you're just preaching to a brick wall on that narrative. They won't change. Many will run. Many will just have an after-hours podcast on its private website behind a paywall. My idea of paywalls and stuff, that was for like special content just for your subscribers. Content that is important, but not. The most important content you can produce and put out there is the ones that's going to inform the American people, inform your viewers, your subscribers, whatever, your followers, with nothing held back. Living without fear, knowing that the consequences could be the removal of your channel, the shadow banning, because then you can start taking the fight to you. Then your people see it. Then your followers see it. Then they start taking action, want to take action. Yes, YouTube could easily shut this stream down midstream for one slip of a word. Especially with not so much with me, because I don't have hardly any subscribers. I'm kind of the low man on the totem pole that gets ignored a lot. But occasionally it catches up to me, as we found out. I lost 2 videos. Whoopsies, they're still there. They're just not on YouTube. But wherever I had them put, they're back up. Why? Because I was prepared for it. You're not going to silence me. I won't let you. Don't let them silence you. Quit restricting your speech. Quit restricting your information on fear of being harassed, suspended. Take the fight to them. Let this new year that we're getting ready to ring in be the time when we release the dogs of war and take the fight back to them. Let these platforms know we're going to talk about what we want to talk about. If you don't like it, well, you better find a way to suspend our IP addresses, because we're not going to stop. Because all those followers some of you guys have, most of them are so loyal, they'll follow you no matter what. You send out a new link to a new channel, they'll be right there. In fact, it might even grow some more. But with that said, I'm not going to do another hour of podcast rambling on. I want to wish you guys all a happy and Merry Christmas. Be safe. Stay warm, please. And as you said at your dinner tables with your family and friends, unwrapping presents, enjoy the spirit of Christmas. Enjoy the spirit of knowing on Christmas Day that George Washington took a risk and gamble for the very freedoms that you're celebrating right now. I want to wish you guys all a Merry Christmas.